Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Naturalist Training, Why the City Nature Challenge Matters. This is our sixth online training event, including how to further your use of iNaturalist via projects. And we've also held one on serpentine soil and associated grasslands. You can find past recordings on our YouTube channel. In this presentation, we will share how to host a BioBlitz and why participating in one, especially the City Nature Challenge, matters as we explore and conserve nature. Hi, my name is Deb Kramer. I'm the founder and executive director of Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful, and I'll be your moderator tonight. I've been an outdoorsy person since I was a kid, and I've been hiking, backpacking, and gardening for decades. And over the past 9 years, I've had the great fortune to build a community around Coyote Creek through our KCCB's events. One of my favorite activities is a BioBlitz event, where we explore a locale for a couple of hours and learn from naturalists about what we find. So today's training is with my friend Marav Von Schack, and she'll join me for a conversation today about the City Nature Challenge and even how to run a BioBlitz event, which we've gotten really good at. The City Nature Challenge happens the last 4-day weekend of April for observations, with the subsequent 4 days for identification. It is a global event, so no matter where you are, you can participate. Let me tell you a little bit about Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful. We are a community-based organization that sees Coyote Creek as a resilient ecosystem for all living things to enjoy. We engage, educate, and encourage people by bringing communities together to take action for, learn about, and play along a healthy Coyote Creek. We host cleanups, BioBlitz events, backpacking, nature walks, and we even provide classroom education and college projects. So let me introduce my friend Marav. So Marav will talk a bit about BioBlitz events and how and when to use iNaturalist as we go out to explore. If you aren't already using it, iNaturalist is a wonderful tool to record and learn about nature. Marav founded BioBlitz Club, a community science organization to encourage people to get outside and learn about nature. Through this group's actions over the nearly past 8 years, she's hosted 100 events, but well over 2,000 people have participated and contributed to the growing body of knowledge about nature through iNaturalist.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'd like to introduce Deb. So it's my pleasure to introduce Deb Kramer. She's a community organizer who has put her skills to use in many environmental fields. She grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, went to the university at Cal Berkeley, and now works in San Jose in the Coyote Creek watershed. Her previous fields of work include energy management, water conservation, recycling and waste management, and even a stint at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
We're really excited to share this presentation about not only the City Nature Challenge, but also how you can host a BioBlitz event. And it's really one of the things that the two of us have found is important to build community around nature. And we've done that by joining forces, BioBlitz Club and Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful. And we just love getting people out in nature and seeing all the wonderful things that are there. As you can see in the slide, we've got naturalists who are and docents in the orange vests. And then we also have some of the nature visitors, our explorers. And then they come and check out the wonderful things that we have at the lakes and creek and other parks that we go to visit.
Okay, and I guess this is the time to say what a BioBlitz is. And some of you already participated in a BioBlitz, so you know, but for the rest of you, a BioBlitz is an event where we focus on finding and identifying as many species as possible in a specific area of a limited point of time. So when we do it, we usually go to a park in San Jose or in the South Bay, and we try to find as many species as we can within about 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
So here's a map of Coyote Creek, the watershed, and some of the parks that we visit. So you can see in the lower right corner, that's where the creek starts in Henrico Park. And it kind of makes a backwards J into Coyote Valley. And then it passes through downtown San Jose and Coyote Meadows, and then comes out in Milpitas at the Coyote Creek Trail and out to San Francisco Bay. It's 64 miles long, and it is somewhat navigable. I've heard people have taken canoes within it, so it's considered a river. And it is the largest watershed in Santa Clara County. And it also, just for reference, it's about the size of 1.5 Lake Tahoes of water that flow through this amazing resource. And some of the places that we visited are, we've been to Henry Coe. We've also hosted many BioBlitz events at the Coyote Creek Visitor Center in Morgan Hill. And we've also gone through various places within Coyote Valley. And then near downtown San Jose, we've gotten to Kelly Park, which is a wonderful winter place to visit, with slime mold and all sorts of fun things that only come out when it's damp. And Coyote Meadows, which is a proposed park. It's all land that's owned by the city of San Jose, just north of Kelly Park. And we're hoping by documenting the place that we can see, as we do restoration work eventually, how the efforts of the community can make a difference. And the only way we know that is if we start with where we are now. And then we've started going to Milpitas and the Coyote Creek Trail that's right at McCarthy and 237. And that's been a really fascinating place to visit during the fall months. So every day of the year, every month of the year, there's a little something different to see along Coyote Creek. And again, we're trying to encourage people to learn about nature together. So it's one thing to go out and explore on your own, which is great, but why not make it a social event? So we do that through our BioBlitzes, and that's one of the main ways that we get people together. So we started 8 years ago with 9 events, and we had about 400 attendees over the course of that year and 10 docents. And now we host 12 events every year. We have over 750 people who come on a regular basis in that year. And we've been building our cadre of docents. So we have over 30 of them now. We love exploring together, and you can see that there are a variety of people who come out, from families, scouts, people come from companies even. We have students and adults, even grandparents with their grandkids, naturalists, people who specialize in various fields, and even hobbyists who just dabble in nature but want to share and learn more.
So yeah, so far, Deb and I have done 67 joint BioBlitz events since 2017, which has been such a wonderful journey. And you can see some of our favorite locations here. This is Alum Rock Park, which is part of the Coyote Creek watershed. And this is in Coyote Valley near the Anderson Visitor Center. If you haven't joined us for our previous webinars, then you could find them all on one page. We'll share the link with you afterwards, but we've done some webinars about community science in general, about using iNaturalist, looking specifically into leaf miners and plant galls, which are little things you could find on plants, nature interpretation, and serpentine grassland, which was our last one. And now I'd like to talk just a little bit about how I got started with these BioBlitz events. And for that, I would like to take you to Coyote Valley. So back in 2017, I was volunteering for Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society at the advocacy group. And at that point, I was creating a database about the different birds that live in Coyote Valley. And I worked on that for a long time using all sorts of resources that I could find online. But at some point, I realized that the next step would be to organize a BioBlitz in Coyote Valley, because not only that we could collect far more information that we already had from available resources, but we could also show people where Coyote Valley is. The idea was to use the data for advocacy, to explain why it's important to protect Coyote Valley, and the birds that live there, but also all the other creatures. But it seemed to me that many people don't know where Coyote Valley is, or if they know where it is, maybe they don't know how to visit the place. So we organized our first BioBlitz event with Audubon Society, Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society in Coyote Valley back in 2017. But since then, I've had events in different sections of Coyote Valley with different groups. So you can see that now we have this nice spread of points in Coyote Valley, in addition to many other places that we've been. So a few years ago, we created the BioBlitz Club website that was really helpful creating this little community of people. And it's a place where you can find information about all our future events. You could find information about other projects that I do, and you could sign up for all these things. In addition to future events and such, I'd like to show you this project. So this is an iNaturalist project, which means that it accumulates observations of specific categories. In this case, it's all the BioBlitzes that I've organized. And you can see that so far, there are 64,000 observations of close to 3,000 species by over 1,600 observers, which, of course, many of them keep coming back and do more and more and more, but these are unique observers. Oh, and the number of events is actually 121. I've been partnering with different organizations. So as I mentioned, I started the events with Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society. And after a couple of events, I met Deb and realized that this is a great fit for both of us. So since then, we've been organizing all those many events together, in addition to events that I work with, where I collaborate with other groups. I'd like to talk a little bit about different BioBlitz formats. We use a specific format that we think is great for us. But every time someone approaches me and asks me how to organize a BioBlitz or asks me to help them organize their own event, my first question is always, what's the goal? What do you want to achieve? Because you could do a few different things. For example, if you're interested in the data, then you might get better results if you do a data-driven BioBlitz, which means that you could share some data in advance. You could recruit experts in different fields. You could divide your area into polygons. After the event, people would often share their results with their little community. These events could be closed to the public and only open to specific experts on invite only. The images here are from an event that I participated in, organized by Mid-Peninsula Open Space Preserve. This was a really fun event where we were grouped with other experts, and each group got their own little polygon that we were supposed to explore and document our observations using iNaturalist. Remind you, this used to be done on paper. So the fact that we can use iNaturalist is wonderful because it's such a great platform for these events. You could do a species-specific BioBlitz event. So you could target specific organism or group of organisms, such as sudden oak death. It's a disease that attacks oaks, but it's pretty prevalent in the area. And often CNPS, California Native Plant Society, and others will organize a sudden oak death targeted event where they will teach people how to identify that species and then spread around and document that. You could have specific events targeting other species, of course. You might need to train your participants for that. And you can collect highly valuable data because if it's just one researcher, it's really difficult to cover a lot of area, but the power of community science is amazing, where you could have many volunteers doing the same job in different places over different periods of time. And then the model that we chose and adopted is the community-driven BioBlitz events, where our idea is to expose the public to a specific area, to teach them about that area and about the different organisms that live there. And why it's important, why we think it's important to protect that area. And we think that a BioBlitz is just the perfect event for that, because you get people out and you teach them about all these different species. You get this hands-on experience where people can look for different organisms and really get a feeling of the diversity of that area while actually collecting real data. So they all become community scientists. They collect real data that gets entered into iNaturalist. So it's not just on our phones, but it get entered into this gigantic database with millions of observations shared with many, many other users. And we can go back and look at all those observations year after year, season after season. We often go back to the same locations and we can compare what we've found in the past. So our goal is both to collect the data, but also to create a community. And the way we organize the events is that they are open to the public. We try to advertise as widely as possible and to include everyone as much as we can. The way we organize our events is that we have a group of docents, which often have an expertise or an interest in a specific group of organisms, or it could be everything. And they lead small groups on a walk, which is about 2 hours, and show people how to use the app, how to document what they find, how to find pictures, because it's all about walking slowly, listening, looking around, and trying to view more than you would usually when you just, go for a walk on your own. Another thing we do is we try to cover as much space as possible. Sometimes we will send people to specific areas. Sometimes we try to just, cover as much as we can. And after the event, we share our insights, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So at this point, we'd like to talk a little bit about the City Nature Challenge and why you should all participate, because it's going to be really fun. So the City Nature Challenge started in 2016 as a competition between the Bay Area and LA. And they were competing who's going to get the most observations, the highest number of species and highest number of participants. It was just 2 cities. But then the next year, we had all these different cities in the US participating. The year after, it went global. And yeah, this is 2023. You can see that it's like watching an invasive species spreading. And this is the data from all the years that we had the event. This data is from the City Nature Challenge website that we will share with you later. It has really good resources. So yeah, you could see that there are hundreds of cities participating now, and it's amazing to see the number of observations that people make, and while finding all sorts of really interesting discoveries. And after the event, they also share some of the most interesting results. And in each of these places, so some of them, if we go back for a second, in the Bay Area, for example, because it's such a huge area, we have many different groups that organize events and then share the results afterwards, especially because this is where iNaturalist is actually developed. So they share a lot of data afterwards. But in some other places, people would share results afterwards with their participants. And I'd like to share this amazing graph here showing the number of observations on iNaturalist every year, and this brilliant peak during the City Nature Challenge every year. So it's just basically a really fun event. It's a great excuse to go out and try and document things. We always organize lots of events during the City Nature Challenge, as do other groups in the area. But in addition to all these events, it's just about, going out and trying to figure out how many things can you see? How many things can you notice? Even if you're not on a BioBlitz, even if you're just in your backyard, what can you document? How can you add to this huge database of knowledge? So what can you do? You can join the global and local project. So our local project for the City Nature Challenge in San Francisco Bay Area is this one. We'll share all these links later. And then there's a global project that you could join as well. You could make your observations between these dates, between April 26th and April 29th. So it's that long weekend, Friday to Monday. And you can upload your observations until May 5th. Okay, afterwards it won't count for this. All the observations will be added automatically to local projects, even if you haven't joined any of these projects. Usually the way we organize a BioBlitz project on iNaturalist is we'll have a polygon and a date. So basically for these 4 days in the San Francisco Bay Area, all the different counties, any observation made within those counties would go automatically into the project. Okay, but it's always nice to join the project because then you can get updates and you could learn more about that specific project. Another important thing is to help others identify their observations. And you could do that until May 5th. So you can join a BioBlitz and we will share a list of the local events at the end. There are going to be lots of local events here in the Bay Area, but in other places as well. You could also join an ID party. So this is the second year where we're going to host an ID party in San Jose. And these are really fun events. We bring a bunch of guides and our computers, and it's actually a potluck, so we'll bring some food to share. And then we'll try and identify as many observations as possible. And you don't need to be an expert in order to participate in one of these events, because even if you just sort all sorts of unknown observations, so people sometimes don't add any ID to their observation. So even just saying, this is an insect, this is a plant, or, as much as sunflower family or species, if you know that would be really helpful, because even if you just categorize it with some generalized group, then maybe an expert would be able to find it and identify it further. So yeah, and you can find a lot of information in the City Nature Challenge website.
I'm going to talk about how to host a BioBlitz, because one of the things our organization does really, really well is we know how to organize events. So to get started, we have a little checklist. And within that checklist, we create an iNaturalist project. So Marav will do that. And sometimes we need funding to do it if we're going to go out as an organization, and that helps to pay our staff. You can get grants from, for example, Valley Water if you're in San Jose, or maybe a business would be willing to sponsor your event if you find that you want to pay for advertising, or you have a space that you need to rent, maybe a park needs a permit. And that gets me to apply for permits if needed, which I'll talk about a little bit more. We also go about inviting our participants, including our docents, for those community events. And one of the questions that was posed by Brian was conducting outreach. How do we do that? And I'll get to that in a moment. Then we host the event. And then finally, we have post-event activities. And you can see on the right that this is our upcoming event on April 28th. And we have flyers and other social media, but at the bottom, you can see that we use a QR code. And those we found have been really great at helping to get people to register when we're hosting other events. And then you can also see a number of partners that we have at the bottom. So that's another thing that I'll talk a little bit more about as well, is just partnering with some other organizations. So once we've decided on a place that we want to go to, some parks require a permit. And to do that, we typically apply 4 to 6 weeks in advance for the city of San Jose or Santa Clara County Parks. And sometimes they request a fee for that, which can be small, $100 or $250, depending on where we're going. So I just wanted to make people aware of that, because it is something that you may have to do if you're going to host an event, especially if it's one that you're going to charge a fee for. But if you're just going to go out with a group of friends, you don't need to get a permit. You can just show up to a place and enjoy it. We happen to also partner with some of these agencies such as the Santa Clara County Parks, and they help with the promotion. So to get the word out, we use a lot of different methods. We use social media like most people, where we post a Facebook event and also share it in some of the groups that we participate in. There's a naturalist group. I went to West Valley College to get to learn more about interpretation. So I post our events on that group. We also have used Meetup and Nextdoor for some of them. There's volunteer match is another great way, because as Marav spoke about earlier, you can do it as a community service project. And then we have just friends and family. So we'll send messages to people and ask them to share it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we partner with a park. So the one that's coming up at Almond and Quicksilver is with the Santa Clara County Parks. And so they'll post a flyer and put it in their list of events that are coming up. We've been lucky in that we've even had elected officials want to share what we're doing. So they'll put information about the event in a newsletter. So don't forget to them. We also post in our personal iNaturalist journal posts about the upcoming events. Schools are a great way to get people to come. You would not believe how many families are looking for something like this to go and do together. And then libraries and other community groups are great ways to get the word out. So one of the things we do is share our events with, for example, the Sierra Club, and then they'll post it in their newsletter or they'll add it to their social media. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get the word out. A nice thing about the City Nature Challenge is that there are resources that as an organizer, we have access to. So since we're hosting an event, we have access to their media kit, their BioBlitz outreach information, graphics as well. So a lot of things that we can use that are created because we're one of the partners within the City Nature Challenge. So when the event day arrives, we want to get there early to set up. Typically, it's going to be warm and sunny, although we've had some rainy days, and we have a tent, but you don't have to be that elaborate. Just make sure that you greet people, welcome them to your event. And then we have, because we're hosting a group event, we typically have a waiver as an organization, and also liability waivers for the parks and the organization, as well as a photo release. When we start our events, we do a little introduction to talk about that particular locale, the particular event that we're hosting, and then we talk about safety, because there are a few things that you want to keep an eye out for. Number one being poison oak, number two being ticks. And then if it's in the summer, we also talk about snakes and watching people's footing. We also, during that time, talk about iNaturalist, encourage people to join the iNaturalist project for that event. Since we create an Eventbrite listing, we usually, just like you've received information ahead of time, we'll include how to use iNaturalist. There's a video that Marav created. And we also send people the list of the information about the project so they can join that as well. And then we go out with our docents and make observations. And at the end, we regroup. We typically stand around and swap some stories of the coolest things that we saw. We also offer giveaways. Food is always a nice thing to offer people at the end. We also have stickers and these fabulous buttons that Marav makes of little critters. So if you come to one of our events, you'll see them and be able to get one for participating. We also offer community service hours. So for people to get those, we do ask them to make 10 valid observations. So no rabbits from like a white rabbit we've seen. We don't want people taking pictures of dogs, but really to take pictures and learn about what's out in nature. And once we finish hosting the event, then the back end work happens. We identify the observations, and then there's also some cleanup of the project's observations that are in there. such as the white rabbit that I mentioned, which would be something that we wouldn't want to have hanging in our list of observations. And then Merav oftentimes will write a journal post about the project. What did we see? What were some of the highlights? How many people came out? How many observations did we have? Where can people find more information about anything special that came out of that event? We like to post our results on social media. So again, the City Nature Challenge is asking people to do just that, is when you're participating in City Nature Challenge is to share what you're finding, anything cool that's out there, or maybe a picture of your group that went out to participate. Lots of opportunities to share via social media. So now Marav's going to do a little demo so you can see what it looks like in an iNaturalist project.
So this is our last shared BioBlitz in a place called Coyote last month. And this is what the project will look like, okay? So we'll have a little picture with the logos, and then you can see how many observations we had, how many species, how many people help identify the observations, and our observers. And of course, we had more people participating, but not everyone is going to make observations. Then you have this little area here, and this is my favorite, actually, the map, where you can see how well we covered the area. You can't actually reach every spot in your site, but still pretty interesting. So this is the project page. From that, you could learn a bunch of things about how the project is actually set, such as we had a polygon for this specific area. In this case, it's actually 2 different polygons and a date. Okay, so every observation made during that date in that spot was entered into the project, regardless if people joined or didn't join the project. Okay, so everything would get there automatically. And you could change that according to your needs. One thing that Deb mentioned is identifying your observations. So from here, it would be really easy. You click on this little arrow, and then it shows you the options to identify observation, which if you click on that, it will take you to the next screen. Yes. Okay. So these are all the observations that haven't been identified to species level and verified by other users yet. And sometimes it's just because we can't identify them to species level. This is bacteria. So, this is as much as we know now. Maybe later someone else would find it and help us identify it further. But for now, this is the best I could do. And after each event, I try to go over every single observation that wasn't identified and do as much as I can. And sometimes I'll tag other people that I think might do better than I would, and maybe we'll be able to identify the observations further. So if I want to identify one of these things, I could click on the observation and I could enlarge it, look at the details. Unfortunately, I'm not a willow expert, so all I can say is, yes, this is willow. But if I knew more, then I could add the ID here, or I can use the computer vision and see what iNaturalist has to say. So I agree, it could be a royal willow, it could be red willow, I really don't know. But maybe one day, a willow expert will look at these observation and suggest some ID. Sometimes it takes a day or an hour, sometimes it takes a few weeks or even a few years, but some of these observations will eventually get identified, and it's kind of fun to get an observation identified a long time afterwards. But anyway, you could do that. You could actually filter, let's say we're talking about the City Nature Challenge, you want to help the San Francisco Bay area. So what could you do? If you can't see anything here that you could identify, maybe you could filter the results into something more specific. So I'm pretty good with insects. So I could just filter all the insects, okay? And yeah, and I could look at them and see if I could help anyone else. I could also filter them to place. So if we're talking about a city nature challenge or something like that, a large area, then I could maybe narrow it down to my county or my city or something like that if I type something here in place. Okay. And one more thing, you could choose the unknowns. Okay. So these are things that weren't identified at all. And yeah, this is something I need to go back and clean because I tried to fix all these issues. Okay, so it will at least have something on it, like a plant, a vascular plant. I think I know what this one is, so I can add that later. I want to show you one more thing when we go back to the project. So let's go back to our project page. The journal. Okay, so every project has its own journal. And at the end of the event, I usually try to publish a journal post. So this is my journal post with fabulous results. This is what we found. We saw some interesting birds. We saw some interesting bugs. We saw this and that. And we also share that with our participants. But everyone who joined the project will get a notification on iNaturalist about this journal post. And you could add more journal posts. So depending on your project, people would sometimes write a lot of journal posts. It's a good way to communicate with the people that care about this project. Let's say I'm going back to Coyote Meadows and I want to target, these 22 people that signed up for this, join this project. I can write a new journal post just saying, oh, we have a new Biblets here, next month, please join us, blah, blah, blah. Here's the information. So joining a project is pretty useful for that.
Well, thanks for going over that. Hopefully people will get a good sense of how to use a project and how to help with identification. So even if you can't come out for one of the events that we'll show you in a moment, we hope that you can help with identification, as Marav said. And it's just really fascinating to see what people find from all over. So let's talk a little bit about ways to connect with other groups. So through Cal Academy, we had the website earlier, you can find or add your event. So if you on the next week are going to create an event, let Cal Academy know. And then there's the Global City Nature Challenge website to see what's happening around the world. So if you're in a different locale or you know friends who live in other countries, you can let them know that they can participate and go to the City Nature Challenge website to find a location that they can participate in as a project, or they can just go out there and do it themselves. And as Marav said, it will automatically be added for those dates that they're automatically added to the City Nature Challenge for the dates in which the observations were made. A couple of other examples are the Sierra Club or Audubon Society or the California Native Plant Society. Those are all great organizations that we partner with, but you can also see if they have events, or in the future, just to create a BioBlitz event, you can contact your local ones and see if they're interested in partnering with you. And something that I heard when I was on the City Nature Challenge Bay Area call a couple of weeks ago was that the San Francisco libraries, a number of them were also going to be hosting BioBlitz events right in the library parks, the parks next to the libraries, which I thought was a really keen idea. The other thing is there's the SciStarter, which is a US list of different organizations that also participate in BioBlitz. So there's lots of ways that you can either create your own, or if you want to partner with someone else and tell them it's a great idea, like Marav with the Audubon Society is like, hey, this is a great idea. Would you like to do it with us? Yeah, that's great. And finally, we have the list of upcoming City Nature Challenge events that we're hosting. So Marav has a few through BioBlitz Club that she's partnered with West Valley College, and then also Grassroots Ecology. And then she's working with us on the Almond and Quicksilver one, which we're hosting. And Audubon Society is a co-host with us for that, as well as the Peninsula Open Space Trust. And then finally, I hope that you'll consider coming to our ID party, which will be on Tuesday, April 30th at the Willow Glen Library. So if you want to turn on your cameras, we can see your bright and shining faces. Brian, you have a question. Would you like to read it out?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we created a BioBlitz for our a natural area we have here in El Cerrito. So it's within the San Francisco Bay Area City Nature Challenge, and it's the first time we're organizing one of these. And I know that the observations will automatically be within the larger one, but I didn't know if there's a way to still more formally connect our project to that one and get updates. Do you know anything about that, or if that would be useful?
Maybe it would be good to sign up through the list of events, so that, I mean, I don't know if you're interested that other people would learn about the event, but you could add your event to a list of events that California Academy of Sciences
Okay,
is advertising.
that's great. I did actually connect with them
Oh, okay.
early on, so I think I'm on the list, but it's my first time, our first time trying to set up a project and connect it.
Nice.
I'm not sure if we're doing it quite right. So
Yeah.
trying to anticipate.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no need to add anything. I think your project, yeah, I don't think there's a need to add a project into the local project.
Okay.
Because it's not an umbrella project. It just accumulates all the observations within the Bay Area. So there's no need for that.
Okay.
It's more about like people knowing that it's there and they can join you.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, and Brian, again, it's you've already been in touch with the Cal Academy staff, so the idea would be to have your event listed, and it looks like you are listed on the City Nature Challenge
Great.
Bay Area website. So I'll
Oh.
put that in the chat so people can see
Well, thank you. Yeah.
the whole list that's published, and it really is all over the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah.
And Charmin, you asked about registration, the times and lists of the events. So our event is on Sunday at the Allen and Quicksilver Park, and it's from 9 till 11:30. And then Rob, do you want to share your?
Yeah, so I have an event the day before. It's on Saturday, the 20. That's the 27th, I think.
Yeah, 27th.
Yeah, the 27th, from 9 to 11 at Shoreline in Mountain View with Grassroots Ecology. And I was visiting the site today. I think it's going to be really interesting. And then afterwards, I'll have another event because it's the City Nature Challenge and we need to be out and, do stuff. So I'll have an event with CNPS, the California Native Plant Society, at West Valley College during the wildflower show. So that would be between 2 and 4 p.m. and that would be fun as well.
Hi, I'm Karina. I'm up in Berkeley, and I have a couple of questions. So this City Nature Challenge, is that focusing on what you see within the city or kind of on the outskirts, like in the parks?
Anywhere within
Yeah.
the Bay Area.
You can
Okay.
even take observations in your yard.
Which I think
Yeah.
really makes it fun, it's a really good question. So it's not just about the city. It's, for us, it's like the entire counties, right? So it's the county line, which Santa Clara County includes San Jose, but it also includes, backcountry in Henrico. So as long as you're within these counties, anything counts, which means that any invasive species, anything in your yard, and I see it as like a really fun challenge to see how much did I learn since last year? What else can I find that I wasn't aware of last year? Like this year, I could pull up plants and look at their rhizobium, the little bacteria in their roots. I didn't know how to do it last year, so that would be a new thing. It's not a species, but so cool. But I feel like every year I learn more things and I focus my attention into, new things that I can add. And it's just a fun, like, personal challenge. And then it's even better when you can share it with other people and take them on a BioBlitz or a walk and, show them how to find things that they really haven't noticed before. We show people how to find leaf miners and plant galls and salamanders and slugs. And it's just amazing what you can see in the middle of San Jose. And of course, you know, if you go to Henrico or to other more exciting places, then you'll find some rare species, you'll find, you know, all sorts of things. But it's also really cool to see what you could just find in your backyard.
And Karina, if you're in Berkeley, I just posted in the chat, we're having an event that Saturday morning from 10 to 1 in El Cerrito, which is right next to you.
Oh,
And there's a big area, and it has an added help for our area because it's a natural area that's not really, the city's trying to figure out how to manage it. And we're basically, all these observations are helping our city to understand where there might be actual diversity hotspots versus just a bunch of invasive plants.
okay, thank you. So I have another comment too. So I've been volunteering with a Bay Area climate change group, and so our group was interested in creating a BioBlitz for the community. And I've been searching in the internet, and I don't see anything in like Berkeley and Oakland. So I contacted UC Berkeley to see if they may be interested, and also I'm gonna talk to East Bay Regional Park, but so I'm trying to, you know, get something going up in this area. Any suggestions or any
Yeah, you could talk with our friend Elizabeth at Holy H2O.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she has a little nonprofit very active in that area, and she organizes BioBlitz events from time to time. She might have one next weekend for the City Nature Challenge. So you can contact her and see if you could collaborate.
All right, thank you very much.
There's also in Berkeley a really nice group called Friends of Five Creeks that's been very active for the last 20, 30 years in cleaning up the creeks. And they do lots of invasive species removals. Susan Schwartz has been running it for like 20 years or more, and she's located in Berkeley.
Okay.
I can send you information. I think there's a website for that.
Okay, thank you.
I just this is Robin. I just put a link, an email for a person at UC Berkeley. He's an entomologist, an insect guy called Neil Tsutsui.
Oh, yeah.
And he has participated in, he's really a big City Nature Challenge advocate. And you might just email him and see if he's organizing one already, or, you know, would want to participate in one. He's a great person to have in your, you know, to help you with the City Nature Challenge.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Professor Tsutsui, he's coming to our event on that Saturday with his kids. His kids are amazing. His kids are like 10 and 8, and you know, his 8-year-old like, well, duh, that's a something spider. So that it was great. His kids educate us all.
That's so nice. I didn't know that he's active in that because I know him from my previous life as an ant researcher. So that's really cool.
He's been great.
Wait, Marav, you still are an ant researcher.
I am still, yeah. I actually do a community science project in Jasper Ridge, Stanford, monitoring ant invasions there with a bunch of volunteers, which is another cool project you could join. You can find that on my website, it's BioBlitz Club.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining the Naturalist Training, where you've learned about the City Nature Challenge and how to host a BioBlitz, and hopefully gotten some tips on things that you can do to make it a really great experience for all those who are joining. And Rob and I are happy to answer any questions you may have about hosting your own event, because we've done 67 of them together, so we both know quite a bit.
Oh, sorry, one last question.
Go ahead, Brian.
Because you had a bunch of great like checklists of like sort of things to think about. Is there somewhere where that might be posted on a website or somewhere?
We just kind of made that for the slide, but I do remember that there's some information in the City Nature Challenge folder that I can send you on how to host a BioBlitz, and it was really good. And they included, you know, the different. They even had some sample text for social media, and then just things to think about as you're getting closer to your day and at the event as well. So it's really helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But I
of
think it's a good
course.
idea, so I might post it on my website.
Yeah.
Just like I did after our previous webinar, which I thought, we
I
could
love
make
your
that
idea.
a little
Love
blog
it.
post.
Like on the follow-up at the end, because I
Mhm.
think sometimes events kind of just end, and it's nice to wrap it up. That was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we like to give people as much information as they want, and then also that they can contact us afterwards, and we're happy to share more. So we're also developing additional trainings, and the next one that we're planning for, because this is Merab's passion area, is insects and arthropods. And if you have some ideas of things that you'd like to have us share, we know a lot of people in the field, and if there's a topic that strikes your fancy, I might be able to, let's say if there's particular plants, then we might be able to ask someone from the Native Plant Society to help give a presentation. And then this recording, as well as the ones that we have, I'll get this recording out within the next couple of days, and you'll get a thank you and a follow-up link in an email. And then, as Merab mentioned earlier, we have our virtual BioBlitzes, as well as the previous trainings that are available on our YouTube channel and Merab's bioblitz.club website. So visit us at keepcoyoteCreekbeautiful.org or bioblitz.club. And again, thanks for attending this webinar. And if you have more questions, we can stay on for a little bit longer, or just want to socialize. It's great. So it was nice to meet some like-minded people.
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Karina, go ahead.
Okay, so let's see. Is it important if we're gonna try to gather the group from my climate change group, and then also my friend who's affiliated with 350 Bay Area. He's gonna notify his group. And so, and then of course the UC Berkeley students. Is it important to actually have a formal introduction as to how you should use iNaturalist before you get out there to the site?
So there are many different ways to do a BioBlitz. One of our friends usually does it in a different way. She'll just have an area, a park and a date, and people will show up and do it on their own. Okay, so they'll go out and document without actually meeting. So she might meet with some of them or with a group of friends, but then the event is kind of open to everyone. So it's really up to you. For us, we want to meet everyone. We want to create that interaction. We want to create a community. So it's really up to you. If you're all meeting at the same time, then yeah, it's nice to have this little introduction, and you could introduce yourself or your group. So that's your opportunity to tell them about what you're doing and why you think it's important. And a little bit about iNaturalist, because they always make the same mistakes, and they'll make them regardless if you say that or not. But maybe we could at least limit that, because we want, like, I noticed that we are creating a lot of trash observations on iNaturalist, because people will document their dogs and their siblings and a white rabbit from time to time that doesn't exist. And I don't know, I don't like that. I don't want to add mess, to iNaturalist. But so I think doing these introductions does help. It doesn't prevent everything, but it helps.
And do you have them kind of sign up before the day so you get an idea of how many people are coming, so you know how many naturalists you need to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we do, is we use Eventbrite as our tool, but there are a lot of other ways that you can have people register, Google Forms or other types of event tools if you like. And we do have 2 different tickets that people can sign up to participate, whether it's a docent where they're going to be leading a group of people, or if they want to just be an explorer and attend. And we will adjust our registration of explorers based on how many docents we have, because we want people to have a personal experience and have a ratio of 1 docent with 5 people. It's about the max that people can really handle nicely. And if we have a lot of docents, then maybe we'll pair them up and have the two docents work with maybe a group of 8 or 10 people, and it just makes it a much more rich experience. So we do pay attention to how many docents we have so that we can limit the number of explorers and make it a really rich experience for everyone.
Explore meaning the general public participants. Okay.
Yeah, and then the docents are naturalists, or a lot of people are self-taught. Some are, it's their training as a biologist, for example. So we just call them docents as kind of a general name for them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All your videos too, your previous videos.